Car Racing in the Metaverse. This conversation is with the co-founder of the Ultimate Racing League and inaugural racing commissioner, Masschef. Masschef has been involved in racing in Upland even before cars were introduced. Whether you're a racing regular or someone who's looking to learn more about racing, this video is for you. There are endless possibilities when it comes to racing in the Metaverse, and in this video, Masschef talks about what it takes to get started racing in Upland. For those who can not only figure out how to excel at racing, but how to properly strategize and manage your cars, power-ups, and the tracks you race on. Whether you're racing for fun or the lucrative UPX prizes that you can win, racing can be for everybody. You just have to get started. I hope you enjoy the interview. All right, Masschef, let's jump right into this with a couple of rapid fire questions just so some players get a chance to know you. When did you first join Upland?
So I joined Upland in April of 2021.
So just around the same time as me. Brooklyn release was probably your first one?
I actually came in just after Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Cleveland was my first city.
All right. And what's your home neighborhood in Upland?
Right now it's 5 Mile Creek in Dallas.
5 Mile Creek in Dallas. Great. Is that part of a specific node or community?
It's part of the Mahoney community down there in Mahoney, MV Mahoney Holdings.
Awesome. Now, we all know that Upland is about play, earning, and connecting. When you joined Upland, if you had a pie with 100% of that, how would you split that up in terms of how you approached Upland between play, earn, and connect?
I would say play probably was about 60% of it. And I got started in Upland because I'm a very avid Monopoly fan. I have like 27 different versions of the game Monopoly. And so it was just really cool to have basically a digital version of it on a grander scale. So play was probably the biggest part of it for me. Connect probably came in second place, and then earn third because I don't earn much because I'm a collector and I'm a hoarder, and so I don't really do a whole lot of earning, but I do a whole lot of playing and a whole lot of connecting and a whole lot of collecting more than earning.
Now we're talking now in September of 2025. The same question: play, earn, and connect. How does that change or stay the same?
Honestly, it doesn't really change a whole lot, other than it just, each piece of the pie became grander.
Good. What was your last purchase in the Metaverse?
My last purchase in the Metaverse was a bus.
A bus. Ah, very good. Congratulations on getting one of those. That's great.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite Upland partnership?
My favorite Upland partnership has to be my newest one with Upland itself.
That's right. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. So Masschef, you are the co-founder along with Dak of the Ultimate Racing League, and now you're the founding commissioner as well as Ant-Man 89 of the Ultimate Racing League and Upland. They now have this partnership. Tell me more about that. If I'm a player who hasn't started racing in Upland, what do I need to know about this partnership, and what do I need to know about racing in Upland?
Well, the biggest thing you need to know about the partnership is now the purses are just absolutely enormous, because that's what the partnership brought was much larger purses. Ultimate Racing League has been around since March of 2022. We're getting ready to celebrate our fourth year in existence here pretty soon. And
now that actually predates cars themselves, right?
That does. It actually does predate cars by about 9 months, I believe.
So how does explain how that happens? How did the Upland Racing League come about?
Yeah, so they basically made the announcement that cars were coming, and that was it. And then we kind of said, well, the next evolution for cars, if they're coming, is to race. We didn't know that there was going to be racing. We just basically took a gamble that there could possibly be racing with the announcement of cars coming along. And so we just kind of rolled with it. And that's pretty much how it happened. And just lucky for us, they brought along racing. They brought along the cars. And now we've come around to this massive evolution to what racing is now.
Well, I wouldn't call it luck. I think that's foresight and insight because I think hindsight is 2020, but if you're going to have cars, you're going to have racing. And it's really cool.
Made sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's really cool that also because Upland is mapped to the real world, that players can create their own speedways, which are essentially racetracks which you can design going through any neighborhood, any streets, around any landmark and anything. So that's something that really makes this racing unique in Upland, and that's really exciting in terms of this community building where you build communities around your racetracks, and that's what really got you guys started in building this league.
Yeah, for sure. And the main goal of it was for the Ultimate Racing League. At the time, it was the Upland Racing League. We rebranded to the Ultimate Racing League about a year ago, just to help facilitate the partnership and help facilitate other things. And obviously, Upland, they're not crazy about using the name Upland in your business model. And so we rebranded to facilitate that. But the whole goal of it was to build up these racing communities, build up the neighborhoods that have the tracks in them. Some of the first members of our community was, Leauge with the Real Note LA. And back then, Real Note LA wasn't, it was just a barely a thing. But he dove right in and, he helped us, and we kind of helped build each other up with that project. And there were some other ones that came around. The Mahoney team were founding members of the Upland Racing League at the time, now the Ultimate Racing League. So some of these guys have been around for a really long time, and being able to build around the tracks, and it just continues to grow. We're continuing to help facilitate building with the rest of the community around certain tracks. And really, there is no limit to what is capable of being done around racing. So, just to help facilitate that and move it forward and keep pushing that forward is what the ultimate goal is.
Now, if I'm a brand new player and maybe this is my first interaction in video learning about racing, what's the best way to get
Mhm.
involved? How do I know which track I want to race on? How do I know which community I want to be in? Tell us a little bit about the different types of cars, or what's a very basic strategy for someone who's just starting now, watching us talk together and say, I'm ready to go. What do I need? What should I do?
Well, honestly, I would start by first hitting up the community. As far as the racing community goes, you can catch us in the Upland General server. There's a racing tab there. You can click the About Racing, grab the racing role there, and that will open up the rest of the channels. You can get announcements. There's racing chat, and just kind of understand what's happening. You can ask questions there. I'm there a lot. Ant-Man's there a lot. They'll help you with, basically any question that you might have. But I would encourage people to start small and work their way up. Obviously, um, you know, don't jump right in and grab an S1R and spend a bunch of money on it and try to go out there and race, because you're going to be very disappointed, because the people that are out there on the tracks right now have been out there for years. And what that translates into is some really, really, really good players out there on the track. So, and this is of course not financial advice. You're welcome to do what you want, but I would encourage people to start small. Grab a cart, learn how to do cart races, work your way up. Maybe grab an S4 or an S2, or before you start getting into and make sure, number one, it's something that you enjoy, something you like doing, and you want to learn more. There's so many things to do in Upland that there's no possible way to do them all. So I encourage people to grab the thing that interests them the most and go after it. And racing is just one of the many things that you can do.
I think that's a really, really interesting point that you make because there are some people that are extremely dedicated to racing, spend a lot of time and a lot of money um, behind this. With these prizes of the racing for each of these tournaments, It's pretty big. So players are very invested in that. So if you're brand new, take it slow, start slowly. You're not going to win the first competition that you join into, but get to know the people, get to know the community, and that's
Mhm.
really what it's all about. Once you're in the community, you find these different tracks, these different neighborhoods that you spoke of. Maybe get a property along a racetrack and just start getting involved, and
Mhm.
you'll see where you go from there. You might even find that you're
Right.
not terribly interested in racing, but you're more interested in the property development side or creating your own racetrack or something else. So that's really important point that you
Yeah.
made there.
And I caution, because racing is expensive. And race, just as racing in real life is expensive, racing in Upland is expensive too. But it's also very lucrative if you learn how to do it and learn how to do it well. It's worth the expense up front. So, practice makes perfect. Learn the tracks, and what I tell people is, find a track that you like and learn how to race on it, and don't skip a bunch of tracks, back and forth. Don't skip to a bunch of different cars. Get a car, learn a track, and race that track until you know it, but like the back of your hand, and then move on to another track, and so on. And that's kind of how you get to where some of these elite drivers are right now.
Now, talk a little bit more about that, the different types of tracks. What really makes these different? If I'm racing and I have a car, what does the track really matter? How does it influence how I'm going to be racing?
Well, because of the setup of the different cars, each car has a different setup. Each has, better. Some have better acceleration, some have better braking, some have, better handling. Some weigh more than others, and all of those factors go into deciding A, what car you want to race, and B, what kind of track you want to race on. Obviously, if you're racing karts, and a lot of people race karts, they're very popular. If you're racing karts, some of the best tracks to race on are the short ones, the 1 miles, the 1.1, all the way up to about a 1.5 mile track. After that, it starts to get a little tedious, kind of boring, but stick to the shorter tracks, and it'll really, really help you out. Um, yeah.
So that's the difference. That's a interesting point because the carts are often much cheaper than the vehicles. All the carts have the same statistics and they run a little bit slower. So that's why you're suggesting some of these shorter tracks are best for these carts. But when we get into, let's say, these premium vehicles or the top racetracks, what really differentiates some of these tracks from the others? What makes an interesting track from your opinion?
So, in my opinion, especially if you're into the faster cars, if you're, S1Rs, the S1Es, the stock car pros, all these elite cars, that are very, very fast. And you have to learn how to drive them because it's not the same. The braking points are way different, and you definitely have to learn how to use the brakes because a lot of the tracks are very curvy, lots of turns, and so forth. So, to me, what makes a good track for these fast cars is a track that has some technical aspects with a lot of turns, and then having the ability to make passes in straightaways, having a couple of good straights on the track to where you have opportunities to create passing options. Because once you're getting into these cars that are so fast, the drivers that are driving them have been in them for so long that they don't really allow a whole lot of option for passing, unless somebody makes a mistake, and which happens, but it doesn't happen very often. And all of these drivers that are on the top of these leaderboards are so good, that it really makes it difficult to create passing opportunities. So you got to have the track that kind of helps that along a little bit sometimes.
Okay, and we also have the element of power-ups, which is also another layer which adds to racing. Talk a little bit about that, some interesting things that you see in utilization of these power-ups in these racings.
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind is, for instance, right now the Upland Racing Championship Series, we run with a 240 maximum power up score, or maximum performance score, excuse me. And for that, even the top cars have an option of utilizing some of these power ups to kind of customize their car. So you can customize your car a little bit to whatever track that you're running on. And but it is a little bit of a, test out and see, because there's things that, help braking, things that help your traction, extra boosts, things that help your top speed. So you really kind of got to play with it and work around with it a little bit to see what the best setup is on each track, because we're running tracks that, for instance, the very first track that we're running on, Ventura Vista, uh, uh, it's a very technical track. It requires a lot of braking. So you have to run it a few times in a car without power ups, so that you can see what power ups you need to help your car out. So it can really make a huge difference. And we see the full gamut. We're likely to see everything from, S1s to, a stock S1, which has better handling than some of the higher up cars. Stock car pros, some of the stock car pros are running really, really good times without power ups, and they have a max performance score of 224. So, it just depends on your style of driving and running the track a few times, so that you can understand what power ups are going to be helpful and which ones aren't.
You're saying it's more than just the driving. You really have to know how to create the best pairing of your vehicle and the track itself. So that also comes with, sounds like a lot of just experience of trying out different tracks and maybe different vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
But and then you add that layer of power-ups. There's a lot of thinking that goes into these races. So there is a lot of
Yep.
opportunity to really dive deep in this rabbit hole, get really involved, and obviously win some pretty lucrative prizes during these races and seasons. And even if you're not a part of these seasons, that doesn't mean you can't race as well. And there's opportunities to race for UPX just in a single race as well. So it's
Right. And not only that, but as you start to get into the racing community, you'll start to see where, I mean, there's so many other racing servers that are out there. The Upland Garage is one of them. The fast track racing community. If you jump over on Tolton, JH Tolton's server, he's got a lot of racing that goes on. The Upland Garage really does, in my opinion, probably one of the best jobs with doing racing events, only because they have very unique events. They're very creative on how they put their events together. Obviously not as lucrative as racing in the URL on the Upland Championship Series, but still it gets you a lot of experience, and it lets you hang around with the community that is racing. North Trenton Mob is another group that they just are on the track constantly, and getting in with these groups will really help you understand what racing is about, help you understand how to race, what cars are best, what tracks are good, how to use those power ups, just getting out there and getting involved and learning where all these communities are and getting in touch with them can really, really boost your experience on the track very quickly.
great. We'll add all of those communities in the notes below, so feel free to join those and check those out. Now, you had the insight when they announced cars that you thought that racing would come. So what do you think is the next evolution? What's the next thing that's going to come to Upland, or what's racing missing in the metaverse?
Um, Honestly, I think the next evolution for racing is, other than just the mechanics continuing to get better and better and better as they develop the mechanics of the actual racing app itself. Other than that, just getting better. I think really for me, the next evolution, and they've announced it years and years and years ago, and I'm not sure that it's ever gone away. And it just keeps sneaking up every once in a while, and that's having attributes on your block explorers, so that when you use a certain block explorer to race with, those attributes become better and better and better, and then that block explorer becomes an experienced driver, so to speak. And I think that's probably really the next biggest evolution that would happen to racing. I don't know if that's anything that's even remotely close to being coming to fruition in the roadmap or not, but I think that would be the next biggest evolution for racing.
So you're saying if racing wasn't complex enough with trying to pair your vehicle with the power-ups and the track, now you're going to have another element, which is going to be your block explorer. So that's going to make things very interesting and very complex as well. But for people
Right.
who
And
like racing,
yeah, and I could very well see, I could see that a very experienced block explorer, bringing in a pretty penny on the open market, for somebody. Just saying,
absolutely.
I think it'd be cool.
Absolutely. Also, if you have experience racing a car and hey, I've got a couple of these, and this one goes really well with this track. That's also an opportunity
Hmm.
to, if you have that knowledge, not just the car, but to say, when you're out on the market, I've done this car racing on these tracks, and it works really well with this type A, B, and C, then that's a really interesting selling point as well. So
For
definitely
sure.
lots of opportunities, not just to win UPX during racing, but you're also saying the sale of these assets of the vehicles, the block explorers in the future, and lots of other things. This is
Hmm.
really interesting. Congratulations on the partnership. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or ask or let the community know about racing?
I mean, other than just all I can say is get out there, jump in, grab yourself a cart, grab yourself a 4E base model, grab yourself something that's inexpensive that you can get out there and practice with, start racing with, and we'll see you on the track.